Computer Engineering at University of Waterloo. So we're just going to introduce Midnight Sun. So welcome to our first general meeting. Thank you all for the interest. And I know since the summer is going to be an interesting term and we're all in lockdown right now, we're slowly transitioning back into work. And a lot of work is actually going on right now remotely. So maybe this is going to be a quick, nice introduction to what's going on the team currently and what we are planning to do in the next few months. Actually, before I forget, Yasmin, do you mind? Or sorry, Colby, can you start recording?
I already started.
Oh, you did? Okay, nice. Right. So welcome to Midnight Sun. We're gonna do this agenda for today. We're gonna do a quick introduction of who Midnight Sun is, what we are, what we do, how long we've been around, and we're gonna go into sub-team overviews. So the mechanical, hardware, firmware, strategy, business sub-teams. Lastly, we're going to go into next steps and important information of how to actually join the team officially, and also links to like our one-on-one sessions, training sessions, and just our main communication channels as well. So what is Midnight Sun? So our mission statement is to design and manufacture innovative solar vehicles that demonstrate the potential of renewable energy for a more sustainable future. So we've been doing this since our team was founded in 1988, and because of this mission statement, we believe in sustainability through action. We dedicate ourselves to pushing boundaries of solar power transportation, and as you can see through solar vehicles, to push for a more sustainable future. Midnight Sun, so that's what we do, like what the goal of Midnight Sun really is, but who we are, we're actually composed of many disciplines, and not just the engineering department. We have people from the arts departments, from all across engineering, whether it's computer, environmental, biomedical, system design, mechanical, mechatronics, pretty much you name it. And really this diversity just adds more into the team itself of what we are actually exposing ourselves to, and all these different dependencies and stakeholders that we expose the team to. So on the left here, we see the very first vehicle of Midnight Sun. So this is the MS1. It was actually built for 1990, I believe, for one of the first competitions in solar racing. And it looks really like spaceship looking. It's single, like you can only have one person in the vehicle itself. So fast forward to more recently, on the right is MS14, our most recent vehicle, our 13th vehicle to be exact. And this is actually a 4-seater, much upgraded from our very first-seater, and it's starting to look more like a vehicle that we can see consumers start to drive. So since we've been around since 1988, since then we've actually built a total of 12 cars, and currently, like I said, on the 13th. You can see through like iterations, and we don't actually have a slide of our timeline today, unfortunately, but just based on differences, this is all based on like different design materials, technologies that have changed over the years. And mainly the competitions we participate at are the FSGP, Formula Sun Grand Prix, the ASC, American Solar Challenge, and WSC World Solar Challenge in Australia as part of Midnight Sun's legacy. So our current vehicle, like we mentioned, Midnight Sun 14, so MS14. This is actually we didn't update the other one. The previous one actually had our most recent render, and this is actually a CAD model of the current vehicle itself. It has 4-seater, a newly designed interior, and also we're currently manufacturing the aero body of the vehicle itself. So in terms of the competition itself, we're actually supposed to be going to the 2020 competition. Unfortunately, due to COVID delays and just the safety of the international situation right now, it has been canceled and postponed to 2021, which is actually still unsure at the moment. At the moment, once we get information whether or not this will be running this year, whether virtually or even canceled, we will be shifting gears to follow a virtual competition or competing in the 2020 competition itself. We have been impacted by a lot of delays, the lockdown, but we've been working in the Bay with limited capacity to build our newest vehicle. So the more information about the competition, it actually is typically around the week, and from the map itself, you can see that the competition for American Solar Challenge, at least, we are able to cross the United States on a fun road trip. So Midnight Sun has a few goals that we follow in general, and these are not like specific technical goals or we have to like make sure so-and-so follows so-and-so specification. It's actually more about the people and the team itself. We split these goals into two main categories. So we have a team goal and a vehicle goal. The team goal itself, we strive to make students the best version of themselves upon graduation, whether it's through applying their knowledge, skills, leadership, communication, and just having team members to work with, both technical and developing soft skills in the process. We want to push people to become the next leaders or contributors, whatever they may be, once they graduate and enter industry or academia. In terms of our secondary goal, our vehicle focused goal, we want to build a safe, robust, and reliable solar vehicle to be competitive in North America. So I'm going to hand it off to Kristen, who's going to be talking about why you should join Midnight Sun.
Awesome. Thanks, Catherine. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen, and I'm the current operations manager for Midnight Sun. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are asking why join Midnight Sun specifically. And we've kind of broke it down into three major reasons for you guys. So firstly, the learning and experience. With us, you've got a big chance to apply classroom knowledge and pick up something that you probably wouldn't learn there as well. And so you're going to develop a lot of skills here with the team that are translational, meaning that they're going to follow you from your studies, like into further studies, as well as when you enter the workplace and all. So there's definitely a lot of skills that you'll be able to take away from being with our team. Secondly, this is a unique project. I mean, to be realistic, it's really not every day that you're going to get to build solar cars from scratch. I think that project's pretty cool right off the bat. And lastly, our community. So at Midnight Sun, we are trying to celebrate individual differences and cultivating an inclusive community to grow and learn together. So essentially, in all, everyone's experiences, talents, and self-expression will shape the way we work as a team. And we are one big family that we hope all of you guys can be a part of and experience. Next slide. All right. Just a few FAQs before we dive into some more details. Firstly, do I need to apply to Midnight Sun? Nope, you do not. If you're here, you are basically in. We do have an onboarding process that you will be going through as a new member, but apart from that, there really isn't anything else. Just be sure to come out to all the meetings and be ready to take on work. Secondly, can I join even if I'm not experienced? Absolutely, everyone starts at square one at some point. Also, this is what the onboarding that we put in place is for, and there's lots of awesome members and leads ready to help you out, to help you get started. Thirdly, how much of a commitment is expected? Well, we like to say that what you get is what you put in. Your commitment can range from attending your sub-team specific meetings and diving into a mini project, which could be like a couple hours a week or so. But it can also be taking on more responsibility on major projects, which can be several hours a week. So it will definitely vary. And then for the last question about how will the spring term look in person or remote, I'll hand that to you, Catherine.
This is always an interesting question to pose at the beginning of every term right now, just because of how uncertain things are. As you guys know, if you guys are in Ontario right now, we are under a lockdown, provincial lockdown, stay-at-home order to be exact, until May 20th. We are assumed to be returning back into Bay for in-person work, but regardless of what occurs, we have a lot of remote projects going on, and we're working towards a lot of in-person, but with limited capacity in the Bay of like manufacturing projects or other types of on-site work. So I guess in short, the spring term is going to be a mix of the two, assuming that we do lift from lockdown at the end of May. If not, we are moving towards a fully remote term in the spring term. There we go.
Alrighty. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got 5 sub-teams to introduce to all of you guys: business, mechanical, firmware, hardware, and strategy. So let's hop a couple slides forward, and mechanical will be up first.
So just to quickly break down mechanical, our spring 2021 goals are to continue manufacturing, assuming we are on site and most likely will, across all mechanical teams to complete a mechanically MVP or most viable product vehicle by the end of the spring term. So I guess to quickly clarify a few things. The mechanical team is one big, large team, but we're split off in actually 4 smaller sub-teams of the mechanical team. So sorry if we're confusing you guys with like sub-teams and like smaller teams, but under mechanical, we have structures, dynamics, battery box, interiors. In structures, we have leads who should be in the chat today. Tommy, Kimberly, Min, and Michael, and sub-team PMs, myself and Jen, who are on this sub-team. On Dynamics, Leif, who could not be here, unfortunately. He is the technical lead, and I am the PM of that sub-team. Battery Box, Micah Black is the lead, and Owen is the PM. Interiors, Renzo and Ali are the technical leads, and Sheila is the PM of this sub-team. So Leaves, if you guys are here, maybe give a wave during your slides. So we're going to start off with structures as one of 4 sub-teams of mechanical. So Tommy, do you want to take over?
Sure. I guess I'll just briefly introduce myself. I think I'm technically the structures technical lead, and structures includes both the aero body team and the chassis team. And this is very useful in the later stages of the car, because we're focusing on manufacturing and last minute reinforcements, which often is like, I guess the aspects of aero body manufacturability and chassis manufacturability often like play a role into each other. And I guess here on the slide, they're just like rough, general, high level points of what type of things we're dealing with for this term and for next term, like CAD and research, aero body manufacturing, chassis manufacturing, and material testing. And yeah, I guess it's mostly a high level that we can really see now. And if you're interested in like learning more about it and just being part of the team in general, that probably just involves like showing up to more meetings and just keeping up with the news. But aside from that, the structures team does also include 2 other leads, and I think that they will introduce themselves in the later slides very soon. That's all for me for this slide.
Awesome, thanks, Tommy. Min, are you in call right now? You're on mute, I think. Still on mute.
There we go. Hello.
Sweet, we can hear you. Take it away.
Get in. Yeah, so my name is Min. I'm in charge of the aero body team. So that's basically the entire outer shell of the car. And we use some pretty interesting manufacturing techniques that you won't really learn anywhere else, at least in school. More specifically, we deal with like carbon fiber and composites manufacturing, which are usually things reserved for and of course masters. So pretty cool knowledge. Yeah, and that's my spiel.
Sweet, thank you, Min. Wait, you're still up.
What? Okay. Yeah, so I guess this is kind of like the gist of what we do. So we have like 2 branches of work. We need to prepare molds and we need to make panels, and they both work interconnected with each other. So you can't make a panel without a mold, and the quality of your mold dictates the quality of your panel. So that's the majority of our work, and I think these pictures are of our bottom panel, which is the biggest panel in our car, and it was quite a challenge. Yeah.
All right, thanks for finishing that up, Min. And next up, Kimberly. I think you're in chat too.
Hello, so I'm Kimberly. The Aero Chassis Integration Project is currently a remote project that we're continuing from the winter term. The goal of this project is to install all the aero body panels onto the vehicle. As you can kind of see in that exploded view of the aero body and chassis assembly. So we're currently in the design stage where we're doing a lot of planning, CAD work, fixture design and calculations. And basically all this planning is going to help us to help us transition into actually carrying out that integration on site, and to do all that manufacturing and assembly in the future terms.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Kimberly. And Tommy?
Hello, it's me again. This is the material testing project, and this is a kind of a new project for Midnight Sun in general. Usually a common thing with solar car teams is that timelines just creep up on you and you don't have too much time to do testing. But for this car, we've taken the opportunity to try to do research and set up some type of, I guess, quality assurance procedures so that we can validate the performance and the safety of certain iffy, varying performance aspects of our car. And those can include like composite panels, adhesive joints, and composite fastening joints. And that's because these items can be strong or weaker based on how you manufacture them. And so one of the best ways for us to really know how good something performs is basically by making and breaking it. And the material testing project is just a way for us to do it in a more professional and organized manner that gives us more accurate and conclusive results. And so there's two pictures on the screen. There's the universal testing machine. There's one in the E3 lab that we will look to ask to borrow to use, or like to give samples to them to test for us. And then to the right is an example of the 3-point bend test that would be one of the standards we would use to test composite panels. And then there would be much more other standards based on what you're testing. But that's kind of like a quick look at what type of things we would kind of deal with and try to sort out.
Sweet. Thanks, Tommy. And that wraps up our structure sub-team. So for dynamics, unfortunately, Leif couldn't make it today, so I'll give a quick quick intro to what the dynamics team is about. Dynamics is basically like anything that moves in the car. For this, like that includes the brakes, steering, suspension, etc. For the current term itself, we're looking to complete dynamic assembly in terms of getting all the parts put together and on the vehicle by the end of the term. This is going to be mainly on-site project with a few small remote items. So the main projects that we'll be doing is prepping individual components, assembly, the actual assembly of the suspension, steering, brakes itself, and doing any additional analysis. So Leif will be, so this is just a preview. Leif will be actually doing a full in-depth dive in our 101s on Saturday, which we will be talking about later. So next up is interiors. So Renzo, Ali, and Sheila, do you guys want to take it away?
Yep, sure. Hey everyone, my name is Renzo, currently 3A mechanical, and I'm one of the leads for interiors. So basically what interiors is all about is anything that lives inside of the car, anything that is going to be interacting with the passengers and the driver of the car. So it's quite different from structures and dynamics in that it's a lot of it involves a lot of product design, a lot of user-facing elements, and it's definitely, I would say, the more creative of the mechanical teams, because part of our job is to make the interior look pretty. So that's one of the reasons I joined a couple of years ago. And so yeah, basically our term goals, we have a bunch of interiors sub projects. So because there are different parts of the interior that need to sort of come together as one in the end. So these projects include catamaran cover, which is basically the battery enclosure. We got seats, which we're making from scratch. Their dashboard, also made from scratch. Steering wheel and interior door panels, and the trim pieces that'll give the interior a nice aesthetic look. So if you're thinking about joining interiors, a lot of our work will be revolving around industrial design, mechanical design, rapid prototyping, and composites, of course. So if you are looking to get experience in those fields, then interiors will be a pretty good place to start. Yeah.
I thought I'd also add,
Yep.
at the start, I think it was Catherine or Kristen that mentioned it. Basically, I'm also like a fairly new member, but basically, if you want to get more involved with the team, I would just recommend to come to meetings and try to, put as much effort as you can, because the more you put in, that's the more you get out. So just attend meetings, and just from there you'll learn a lot. And yeah, I'd recommend interiors.
Awesome. Thank you, Ali and Renzo. But totally agree, though. Always come to meetings. Last in mechanical, battery box. So if Micah and Owen are here.
Hey everyone, can you hear me all right?
Yep, you're good.
Cool. I'm Micah. I'm the technical lead for the battery box. I'm going into my 3A term of mechatronics engineering. And yeah, this term we are going to be finishing up the assembly of some of the battery modules that we started in previous terms and couldn't complete because of lockdowns. And then we're also working on the electrical integration within the car, so wiring all the high voltage components together and routing all the wires in between the car. The electrical enclosures in the car, we've got some in the rear, some in the front, and some right between the passengers where the battery sits. So yeah, if any of that sounds interesting to you, I would love to have you join the team. And Owen, if you want to give a little spiel about yourself.
Hi. Yeah, sure. Basically, just adding on to what Ali said about interiors. If you join the team, attend meetings, be happy to ask questions, and take initiative, take on tasks, you'll find that at first it seems all really complicated, but then you'll learn really, really fast, and it's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Owen and Micah. I see a theme here. Exposure means more information and knowledge gained. Trust me, none of us bite. We're all always looking to help you guys answer any questions on the team. But that concludes mechanical. We'll head over to one of two electrical teams, hardware. So James, if you want to take it away.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
You can see me. Yeah, this is one half of the electrical teams, like Catherine just mentioned. My name is James. I just finished my 3A term at Tron. Don't mind the photo. We haven't had one in a while. But our team leads are Ashmika, Micah, who you just heard from Battery Box, me, Liam, and Nita. You'll learn a lot more about us later on. Ashmika and Micah being the two primary leads. The rest of us are technical project leads. So something like that. And our project manager is Kristen, who you've already heard from. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so basically what we do is all the physical stuff related to electrical. At a high level, we manage the batteries, the motors, the solar panels, and the low voltage systems, or like driver controls, battery management, telemetry, power distribution, etc. You can see a somewhat outdated block diagram of all of our boards, all of our components, and such. But yeah, next slide, please. So these are kind of what our work divides down into. So first we have powertrain, which is how the car is powered and how it sends power to the wheels, how it moves basically. That includes motor interface, pre-charge, DC to DC converter, and charger. Next we have the battery, which is, I guess, technically powertrain, but that in and of itself is a huge project. And that's how we deal with the batteries, how we manage them, how we keep them safe. So like monitoring for over voltage, under voltage, under current, over temperature, under temperature, I guess. That's very, works a lot with the battery box team and also solar. We are the solar car after all. This is somewhat similar to battery, but how we extract energy from the solar panels. And again, how we make sure it's safe, overcurrent, undercurrent, all that stuff. Driver interface. So this relates to kind of the screens that the driver might see at the driving wheel, or the lights, or for example, pedal and the steering wheel. Basically anything that the driver has to interface with or control. Also telemetry, this is how our systems talk to each other and talk to us. So if there's a fault, if our batteries are overvolting, how that signal the sense of the rest of the car, how the car safely handles it, and how we know something is wrong. And also infrastructure, it's more of a general thing, but this is like how the energy might be distributed throughout the boards, how the boards talk to each other, etc. So that would include like the controller board and our power distribution system, which again, you'll learn more about at a later date. Next slide, please. And so this is kind of what you'll be learning on the team. First, we start with schematic capture. It's typically like from block diagram to actually having a circuit planned out. We do this using Altium. The two images you see on the left, one is for schematics, one is for PCB layout, which is the next step. Once you have your schematic planned out, you also have to plan out how the physical components are laid out on the board. So you basically play flow for like 12 hours on end. You try to wire everything, try to make sure everything's compact. There's a lot of things to consider, like your signal lengths, how long your traces are, how thick your traces are, etc. And then from that, how to arrive at a physical board. So we order stuff, we order components. You see on the right side how we go from schematic to PCB to the actual green board that you typically know. Next slide, please. And then from there, once we have the boards and the components, we also do board bring up. So this is how we solder things, how we validate things, how we test things. We do it all by hand. So you get a lot of hands-on experience, ideally. Hopefully you will be getting a lot of hands-on experience. And then also harnessing and electrical layout. So the middle image and the right image, you can see how we plan out the wiring from box to box, from enclosure to enclosure, and on the right, how that might look. You've heard Micah talk a bit about this from Battery Box. We work pretty closely with them on this topic. So yeah, this area is a lot more hands-on, so you can see why whether the lockdown ends or not matters. But hopefully, this will be what you will be learning. Yeah. And I think that's the last slide.
And it is. But yeah, thank you for the introduction, James. We're going to go to your, what is it, counterpart, firmware. And Ryan, I guess, and if Avery's here, if you guys want to take it away.
Yes, so firmware, what is firmware? Firmware is the code that makes the hardware work. So we take all of the hardware that the hardware team gives us, and then we write simple-ish programs that support the hardware running in the car. So that means that we take our code, we compile it, and we stick it on a microcontroller, which runs on each board, and that like flips certain voltages high or low in order to control all of the components on the car and make everything work, monitor for any errors, and things like that. Yeah, so if that big diagram on the other slide scared you, don't worry, it scares me too. In firmware, all you have to worry about is this diagram on the right side with these big green blocks. And each of those represents a grouping of firmware projects, each of which runs on one or two boards. So under power distribution, we've got front and rear power distribution that actually controls which boards get power at which time and what state. And power selection will control like which power pack we're on. The drivetrain. Under the drivetrain, we have the motor controller interface, which talks to our motor controllers to speed up and slow down. Under charging, we got solar, which charges, which handles the solar panels, since we are a solar car. And we've got the charger, which handles if we plug into a wall charger. Under driver controls, we've got center console, which handles all the state in the car and also like buttons that you press in the center console of your car. And the steering stock, which handles if you press buttons on the steering stock, the pedal board, which is fairly self-explanatory, handles if you press the pedal, and the battery management system under battery, which handles making sure that the battery does not explode. So next slide, please. Yes, so things that we work on. We write bare metal C code, bare metal meaning that there's literally like one or two abstraction layers between your code and flipping bits in registers on the hardware. There's no operating system. So we work on, we write C code for battery management, protection, driver controls, telemetry, and also a whole bunch of cool other things like projects that we've got going on include like emulation. We're trying to emulate our whole firmware system on your laptop so you can see all the projects sending messages back and forth. We got debugging tools like you can like control a board using Python shell. That's pretty cool. We've got a CAN Explorer project going on that Avery's heading to try and listen to messages going on our network, passed between boards. And we got a bootloader going, which is we're trying to flash code sort of remotely so that we don't have to go and plug into every controller board to flash it. So the term projects include that. And if we're on site, assuming that we are allowed back on site, we'll be doing an awful lot of validation, which Jess will be leading. And investing in tooling, maintaining our existing firmware systems so that they're in tip-top shape for when we're eventually able to validate them, and we're just investing back into the team. So yeah, I realized I never introduced myself. I am Ryan. I'm in 2B SE this term, software. Yep. So that is me and firmware. Avery, I guess if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah,
and
sure.
talk a bit about yourselves.
So I'm in 2B as well, and I'm in mechatronics. So I'm sort of like the assistant lead, and I'll be helping a lot with code reviews and just answering any questions anyone has about the team as well.
Great. Thank you for the introduction, Ryan and Avery. We're going to move on to the next category of subteams. This is strategy. So hand it over to Emma, Michael, and later Kristen for this.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Emma. I'm a 2A systems design engineering student. I'm your strategy lead, and your PM is Michael, who will talk in a second. Brief overview of what strategy does is we're essentially trying to understand everything that happens on the vehicle and then make that information useful to us in our decision making. And so a little bit of that is how can we inform team decision making around this is what architecture might be useful if we want to collect data while we're doing this. But the vast majority is we have all this data that we're collecting from the sensors around the car as we race, and how can we collect this and make predictions and make better race time decisions. So how can we race better and score more effectively when we're racing? And then after that, we'll also probably do a lot of analysis on how the race went and how that measures up. So that's a little bit of a later problem. So yeah, we use tools, mostly Python, and it's a completely remote team, like everything else is in the current state, but we will remain completely remote for the foreseeable future. And so we use GitHub to interact with our repository, which you can see at github.com/uw-midsun/strategy. And then we've also taken on a couple of projects which Shiro will talk about, involving dashboards. And so there's a lot of Python there, but also Flutter, which is a cross-platform mobile language for those that haven't heard of it. Apart from that, the formula you see there is basically how the ASC race is scored. And so you're assigned a score based on like the distance you travel, how many people you're carrying, your battery usage, practicality, which is like how the car looks. And that all combines to make your score, and that's your final ranking. And so a lot of our decisions and a lot of what we do is guided by how can we understand that formula and calculate our score as we go. I think that's all I have. I think Michael will take over and talk a little bit about the projects we have coming up this semester.
Yep. So hi, I'm Michael. I'm an old systems design student. So a lot of our projects are basically based around optimization, basically getting the most out of the data that we have. We process a fair amount of data. We do a fair bit of prediction stuff as well. As basically the point of strategy is trying to optimize like how do we race most efficiently. So as you can probably guess, a lot of our tasks are optimization, database. We're doing a fair amount of dashboard and displays. It allows our team to kind of process everything that's going on. So if like say the predicted level of data and battery levels that are upcoming, stuff like that. So we're able to visibly see it because it does us no good if it's just processing in the back and we have no idea what's going on because you can't make decisions off of that. We're in charge of a bunch of state of charge things, some telemetry feedback as well coming back to us. So essentially, we do a variety of tasks, almost entirely in Python. The driver's display that we are building is made in Flutter, as Emma mentioned previously. But most of our projects are essentially run in Python, and they're based around just optimizing as many aspects of the car as we can possibly do. And so yeah, next slide, Kristen.
Awesome. I realized I totally forgot to mention what program I'm in. I am in 3A, also in systems design engineering. So, hooray, there's lots of systems. But anyways, the UXD team, that is short for user experience design. We are very small and quite new. So some of you guys in the call might have known us previously as the displays team, which used to live under Mech Interiors. However, we only focused on the driver display last term, which you guys can see a sort of like GIF there in the slide. But now for this upcoming term, we are planning to expand the types of projects we are doing. And so we are focusing on creating user-friendly interfaces both inside and outside the car. The driver display was inside, and 3 new projects we are going to be ramping up on this term include a dashboard for telemetry, investigating finance budget reports and how we might be able to create a dashboard for that, as well as revamping the team website. So look forward to those. We also primarily use Figma to design and prototype, Confluence to document all of our research and findings, as well as Jira to keep track of tasks. And yeah, that's it from UXD.
Great. Thank you, Michael, Emma, and Kristen. All 3 system designs. I'm going to hand back to you, Kristen, for business.
Oh, right, I'm up again. All right, so actually just a little bit background for Midnight Sun. Our team is almost solely funded by sponsorship opportunities, which means that budgeting, race logistics, events, public awareness, and all of those activities are vital to the success of our team and all of its operations. So we are divided further into 5 smaller teams. First up, we have marketing. They focus on designing and building the team's image. So they're trying to increase the visibility and improve the credibility of the Midnight Sun brand. This term in particular, you will definitely find them working on various brand projects, doing some website updates, creating new social posts and templates for those as well. Next up, we've got sponsorship. Basically, any large project will start with resourcing, and Midnight Sun is no different. So funding we try to acquire can come from 2 different sources usually. The first is internal sources, such as endowment funds at the University of Waterloo, and the second is external sources, so just various suppliers and corporate sponsors that we reach and cold call, basically. Third, we have finance. More spending means more money management. So finance tasks will generally range from tracking expenses and team purchases to managing the individual sub-team budgets as well. So lots of work on the finance side. Next slide, please. Fourth, we have supplier interfacing. Supplier interfacing, they are kind of similar to sponsorship in the sense that, yes, it is a type of sponsorship. Sponsorship focuses on monetary sponsorships, whereas supplier interfacing focuses on in-kind sponsorships. SI will work with various technical team members, primarily from mechanical, to secure those types of sponsorships. And the sponsorships are typically in the form of like manufacturing services and materials and those kinds of idea. Lastly, we have student success. So earlier when we mentioned as one sort of why you should join, caring for one another is a top value within our team. While it is everyone's responsibility to uphold that, the student success team takes further action by organizing different events for within the team, such as socials, resume critiques, fireside chats, safe social circle discussions, and I guess most recently a mentorship program within the Midnight Sun team. So look forward to what business has in store. Yeah. Oh, right. I did include a slide on some of our projects. On the left, you've got our brand book, which is a marketing project that is being worked on this term. In the middle, we have crowdfunding. We recently raised around $6,900, I believe, or wait, $8,900 for the team. This was back in the fall term, and it is still ongoing because we are currently shipping stuff. And then on the right, another sort of marketing project, social posts. That is an example of one of our sponsor Sundays, which we post every second Sunday, a sponsor to recognize. And yep, that's it for business. All right, which sub-team should you join? So hearing from all of us was probably a little overwhelming. So we have made just a small summary to help you guys find the right fit. If you are interested in mechanical design and manufacturing, product design, the mechanical team is for you. UI UX should be bumped down to strategy actually. But next up, if you're interested in programming and software development, take a look into firmware, board and circuit design, that will take you to hardware, graphic design, finance, in general, talking to people, that is the business team. And then lastly, if you're interested in data science, statistics, and UI UX design, take a look over at the strategy team. And some of you might be wondering, yes, you can join more than one sub team if you wish. Just keep in mind that each of the teams will have a different onboarding process and the work will accumulate in that sense. So just be careful with whatever term you're working on right now too.
Just that on, if you guys are in a program, but you want to try something new, feel free to. If you're in like software engineering, if you're in like electrical ECE, you don't have to stick to hardware and firmware. You can join other teams as well. This is all up to your personal skills and likings or whatever skills you seek to join and also contribute to team. So yeah, just a reminder that you are not limited by your major. So that's pretty much our whole presentation about who we are, what the team is, like what are all the sub teams. We're going to move into next steps and important information in order to actually like join the team, join our social media platforms, and how to join meetings, the most important part of the team. So we're going to start off with next steps. Kristen, do you want to detail these?
Yeah, for sure. All right, number one, you'll want to come out to Midnight Sun Onboarding 101 sessions. This will be a deeper dive into each of the individual sub-teams and how you can get started with them. So this will be happening on Saturday, so this upcoming Saturday on May 15th. We'll have the first sessions of all the mechanical teams starting at 2 p.m. and then electrical, strategy, and business will be at 4 p.m. So please mark those in your calendars. To join our communication channel so that you can access these meetings, head over to uwmidsun.com/join us, and you'll be able to find links to our Slack, our Confluence, as well as our Facebook group that hasn't been active, but your major ones are definitely Confluence and Slack for sure to get onboarded onto. And then lastly, just make sure to come out to our weekly meetings starting next Wednesday, May 19th at 7 p.m. So we have a weekly general meeting for the whole team. And then there will also be individual sub-team check-ins. So be sure to check in with whichever sub-teams you plan to join to see when they meet individually. All right, so the 101s. When are they happening? We just mentioned they will be happening on May 15th. Please make sure to note which teams you would like to see. The mechanical team, just to break it down a bit further, this includes the battery box dynamics, interiors, and structures teams. So that is how you will be, that is where you will be learning about them. To join, I did just mention again, just to highlight that, please make sure that you can find the links through Slack. So get onboarded onto Slack. Links will be sent to the general channel there. Head over to the Join Us page to find that. If you registered for this meeting using that Google form, we will be emailing you the links for the 101 session. There is one link for all of it. But if you didn't register, which I know many of you have, and I spoke to you over Facebook to send you the link, don't worry, just head over to that Join Us page and get onto our Slack so that you can access all the links. All right, and I mentioned the 3 tools. What are these 3 tools that we use? Firstly, well, you've heard a lot of it, Slack. This is our main channel for communication, whether that's just talking with people, distributing meeting links, that sort of idea. Slack is what we use. Secondly is Confluence. This is the home for all of our project documentation. You can almost think of it like a Wikipedia in a sense. If some of you have checked it out, we've got various spaces for the different teams. And then lastly, Google Drive. So Some of the teams, we store various notes and files, and all of those are stored within Drive. Some is like split into Confluence, but we still have some stuff on Google Drive. All right, important channels. I won't list all of these out, but some key ones to note. We do have special channels for onboarding. The first is the Mech Class S2021. That is for the mechanical team. Please join that if you are hoping to join a mechanical team. And then we've also got Elect Class S2021 for the electrical team. So those are two main ones to consider. For the other teams that I have not mentioned, such as business and strategy, please just join the regular channels. We'll be distributing the slides, so don't worry about trying to remember all of these.
All right, and with the team meetings, so we highlighted two, I guess one major meeting that's going to happen on a weekly basis. Not this Wednesday, but starting next Wednesday, we'll have our general team meetings where we'll have updates from every sub-team and in a general manner at 7 p.m. So starting 7:30, various sub-team check-ins will be happening. It was actually a long schedule that we did not really want to post on this. It's actually on our Confluence, and you'll find out through actually joining our 101s as well what each sub-teams are. But they will be happening at various times throughout the week, and will be pretty consistent throughout the term as well. So just finding that time and making sure you go to those updates. So that's our Wednesdays. So on Saturdays, that's when we do most of our working sessions and for some sub teams, a brief check-in just to see progress and if there's any questions from team members, team leads, etc. That's starting from 1 p.m. Starting 1:30 p.m. we do all our working sessions, whether it's like targeted group working sessions on a certain topic, reviewing materials, working sessions in the bay once we get on site. So typically we do all these meetings on Zoom itself. So general meetings will be shared in our general channel on Slack. You'll see this once you get on. And other various meetings will be sent as Zoom links to their respective channels. So if you're interested in other meetings as well, be sure to join the Solar at UW Midnight Sun calendar. We have all the I guess what you'll see in a week, how many meetings are going to be happening by the respective sub-teams, or check on their respective sub-team channels as well. The meetings are also announced in the meetings channel, which will give you like a 30-minute reminder when the next meeting is going to start if you're interested in checking out other sub-teams. Lastly, before we conclude off, some advice we want to give everyone. These three pieces of advice are pretty linked to each other. But we want to let everyone know that what you get out of the team is what you put in. If you're looking to learn new skills, if you're looking to meet new people, it really just takes effort on your part, because we're willing to teach you. Every one of us on the team is willing to teach something new or learn something new as long as we put the effort into actually doing so. With that said, ask questions or ask for help. No one's going to bite. We actually commend this truly. The only way to learn is to ask questions, find things that you don't know, or just to make mistakes as well. So don't be afraid to ask questions or ask any of the leads or current members for help in any area of the team, whether that be onboarding on a current project, looking to learn something new on the team as well. And lastly, be an active member of the team. One of Midnight Sun's goals are to build the next generation of innovators, thinkers, and doers. We're looking for thinkers and doers on the team. So if you want to get involved, if you want to take on more projects, if you want to take on more responsibilities, be active, come to our meetings, and ask for stuff to do. That's the advice that we have for you guys.
Is it me or is that Catherine?
I think that was Catherine. Oh dear.
Yeah, she's frozen.
Fill some space. If anyone's worried about like time zones or anything, because I don't know, maybe you're not on the East Coast or whatnot, and you're worried about not making meetings, at least on the electrical team or for hardware, we do our best to accommodate. If you can't make meetings, we'll try to set up one-on-one meetings to help you out, check on you. I imagine for the other teams, they do that too. So don't be too worried if you're not in the same hemisphere as us. We do our best for that.
Catherine just messaged me. She has a power outage of all things.
That is unfortunate.
Oh my goodness, that timing. We did actually get through all the sub-team presentations, so I'm just gonna quickly list out. Actually, Colby, are you able to figure? Oh, there we go. All right, never mind. I think I can screen share. I'll share the last couple slides. All right, can you see my Chrome?
No.
No?
Yes.
Loading.
I see a white screen.
Wait,
Yes.
a white screen?
We see Teams. Never mind.
Is it Teams?
It's fair.
Okay, one sec.
It's a very blank white screen.
I always struggle with team sharing. Not fun. Okay. Okay, can you see my actual screen now?
Yes.
Slideshow? Cool. Okay. Great. So those was an overview of everything. With regards to if you have any questions at any point, feel free to drop them in the channels for the respective subteams. But if you really want to talk to a lead, for business, DM me over Slack. For firmware, you can talk to Ryan. If you're looking for hardware, you could talk to Eshmika. Mechanical, you could talk to Tommy, or strategy, you could talk to Emma. I know there were also a few other people that were talking in this meeting. For each of those subteams, you can also feel free to DM them as well. You just put just a few of us here to simplify a few things. And that's great. That kind of wraps everything up. Does anyone have any questions? And I cannot see the chat, unfortunately. So if anything pops up in the chat that you'd like myself to answer, just let me know. I'll just stop here sharing screen. That's probably better. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can unmute your mic and just talk. That's totally cool as well. How do I join Slack? All right, to join our Slack, I will type in the website right now, if my computer will let me. www.midsun.com/join us. Please head over to the link that has been sent. Oh, awesome. Nita sent the actual Slack link. There is also a page where you can access the Slack link, which I just sent, which will also direct you to Confluence. Either or you can access Slack from there. Well, I'll stick around for a few more minutes then in that case.
Anyone has questions on like team experience, races, whatever, there's people with plenty of experience here to talk about things. And it's more than happy to answer your questions.
When is the Australia event? Okay, the Australia, so that's the World Solar Challenge that was supposed to happen this year. It has been postponed. Should be happening in, I guess, 2 years. And well, it's kind of hard to say. I don't know if they'll postpone to next year or just leave it from this year and just do it in 2 years. But yeah, it's generally happens every 2 years. So you could expect an announcement to be made about that either next year or the following year. If you're asking like when we'll be going to that, we actually haven't been there for a very long time. I don't know actually how many years. It's been several cars.
It's been 10 years.
10?
Don't get too excited. Traveling to Australia and shipping the car down there is very, very expensive and a lot more than what we can really afford to do. So don't get your hopes up too much right now because, yeah, chances are we're probably not going to Australia for a while. It's also, the Australia event is literally an outback trip of where you're driving, when we're driving the car basically all the way through the outback over 10 days. So it would be quite the adventure, but we need money.
Yes, it is quite expensive, but you can look forward to ASC and FSGP that we attend generally in the States. So still get to see a few things. How did you guys become leads? That's a very interesting question.
We grew old in the old dreams we don't.
I love James's answer.
Honestly, just
Am I wrong though?
yeah, you're really not wrong, unless you're me and I'm still here. But like, just be involved. Yeah, like basically what Tommy said, contribute to the team, be active, ask a lot of questions, hang around the bay when it opens. Stuff like that is basically like how you become a lead over time. Because eventually it'll be like you're forced into it at some point because you're the most experienced in a role. You can ask Micah Black how it happened.
Called out right there.
Democratic election. Nah.
Yeah, same here. Pretty much just getting the most experience in a role, and then when the old lead leaves, then you become the new lead.
It's more like forced dictatorship, but
yeah, I was gonna say there's no democracy really here. We don't do that. So much machining is involved. Fair bit of manufacturing. Mechanical could probably answer that a lot better.
Okay.
A lot of the machining is done off-site. We get it sponsored, mostly due to on-site limitations in these COVID times. But yeah, for all the super important dynamics parts, it's off-site, but different test fixtures and jigs and stuff we've done in-house ourselves.
I did see a question about someone being an incoming student for the fall, and if you can participate. Yes, you can definitely participate. That's really cool. We've actually had this case last year where a couple people joined the team before they started at Waterloo. Definitely a good experience to have before coming to Waterloo. So yeah, for sure. Just get set up with all the tools, of course.
There was also a question somewhere about if we're trying to build for more than just a driver. Like cruiser class is essentially proving the concept that they're like consumer focused solar powered vehicles can exist. So cruiser class vehicles are designed to be more than or two or more people. So that is like the purpose of that car. It is designed to be for more than two people. And in our case, yes, scoring is based on the number of people in the car times the distance traveled is like a good chunk of the scoring, hence why 4 people is an advantage over 2 people. Our last car was 2 people, so we're going 4.
Hello, and I'm back at a really awkward time. Sorry,
Hey.
my power went out suddenly, which is interesting.
Just like a power
We're just
outage.
fielding questions, it's fine.
Yeah, actually, I quickly wanted to talk about the training materials. We do have a different training onboarding type of process for new members, and different teams do different things depending on what it is. So let's say you can say mechanical has an overall general onboarding process, but they have each of the sub teams in mechanical have their own like specific training processes. Firmware has their own training processes. Hardware has its own training process, strategy has its own, and UXD has like its own training process technically. And business is like split into further like individual teams that have smaller training processes. So there's quite a bit of training. So that's why we recommend trying out one team first before joining more than one team, just because of how much work is actually involved. Is there a place to really get into environmental, sustainable energy side of things? That's a good question. Yes and So the easy answer is yes, but the complicated answer is that it is an engineering competition focused on the theme. So the whole point of the project is like an engineering, like a challenge to build vehicles that run on carbon neutral sources, right, such as solar energy. In terms of environmental sustainable energy side of things, we do focus a bit on solar arrays itself. For example, when we were designing a solar array, we had to look at efficiency, the costs, and also like how this would impact the like cost of the vehicle itself, which in turn impacts the environment. But yeah, I think that's a good question to ask. If there's a follow-up actually or something you want to clarify specifically, you can maybe send it in the chat. That's Alicia, by the way.
Yeah, so every 2 years is the American Solar Challenge, which is like the actual cross-country race. And the years in between are the Formula Sun Grand Prix, which is a track race typically held at the Circuit of the Americas, which is the only Formula Grand Prix track in North America, I'm pretty sure. Or no, US. Mexico has one, I think.
Canada also has one.
Hey, they're making one in Miami. Maybe we can go there soon.
Oh,
I don't know if it's for Formula Sun, but Formula One's making one in Miami.
Well, I mean, our car has more track time. Like drivers from our team have had more time on track at Formula than actual Formula drivers. Fun fact.
Red Bull Racing.
I mean, they should just give us our money then. All the money that they have is now ours because we're just better. Think of what we could do with a few $1 million.
Lots. Oh, what is this? Oh, goodness. Strategy.
Organization. You're not wrong. Another point going back to when we were talking about, it's like you're not restricted to just your discipline or whatever. Is that like a couple ways you could approach Midnight Sun is one, you can use it to get a lot more experience in your field. The other is you can also experience things that you normally wouldn't. So like as an electrical, someone in ECE, if you want to dabble into mechanical because you'll never do it in your career or in class, this is basically your chance to test something out. See what it's like.
Honestly speaking to like dabbling into individual subteams, because like even though I'm not really a technical member within a lot of the teams, like I first started out in business, then I joined Mech Interiors and business at the same time, and then I hopped into hardware at the same time while I was on both of those teams, and I just switched over from interiors, which I was on last term, and to strategy this term. So I mean, kind of just bounce around. Although maybe that's also my discipline of being in systems. Not gonna lie, but you can definitely feel free to like try lots of things, regardless of whether you think like it doesn't fit your specialty or whatnot. Definitely recommend just trying whatever you can. How's the culture on Midnight Sun?
We love each other.
Wait, that's it?
I love that. That was just silence there. In terms of the culture, typically we're both more closer knit than we are like in person than we are in like right now remote. With the remote situation, I'm sure everyone has been feeling the difficulties just being remote from different teams like academics, co-op, etc. Except oh my goodness, Renzo, I was just looking at the chat. What so we strive to make Midnight Sun like not only a place to actually just learn and work on the card, but also building bonds between like members themselves. Naturally, they do form over time just through going through experiences with each other, whether that's through like late nights in the bay, working on projects extensively, at competition itself. I'd say it is close knit to a certain point. But we also try to, I wouldn't say artificially propel it, but adding these events that help with student mental health, like the tackling topics that are difficult, and just being like a community where we're actually being able to be open with each other, as opposed to kind of just like a I don't know, just like a strictly for business type of association. And I guess Kristen, Michael, if you guys have anything to add on to that.
Like another thing too is that the Bay also becomes just like a social hub. It is for work, but it's also like a place that people will gather after class. If people are bored and they want to just kind of drop by, see who's there, say hi. We've had a lot of members back when we were allowed to do it. We'd spend a lot of time in the Bay. People slept in the Bay. I don't encourage that, but it's happened. There's like all sorts of things where people just people go and hang out, and like just Midnight Sun just becomes like a central social thing where the toxic team's at. I'm not going to name any names.
Molly's. I remember Midnight Sun used to do outings to Molly's before it was legal.
We did a lot of Molly's. That was when the team was mostly legal age.
And when it was not COVID.
Also, I want to add something to what Renzo said. Like, for context, I haven't actually met any of the leads right now that you're seeing. So, like, I know a lot of new members. They're, like, scared that they don't really know anybody. But everyone's, like, really nice. So, like, I guess when we go back in person, I'll meet them for the first time. But everyone's really, like, nice. And if you have any questions, like, they'll answer it. Like, all of us are still learning as well. It's not like we're experts at what we do or anything. So yeah, just don't feel scared to join because you don't know anybody.
I can't bash teams in an open meeting, guys.
I mean, guys, I think period we shouldn't be bashing other teams anyways. We
Yes,
are
other
all
teams are
University of
beautiful.
Waterloo students and design teams operating on the university. So yeah, we're no bashing teams of any type here, unless you're bashing Microsoft Teams. That I can commend.
We are literally on
I'd like to point out
Microsoft
that
Teams.
the recording is still going, just in case anyone was thinking about it.
It's okay.
I see
There's
a
called
big
video
purple
editors.
banner on my screen.
I'll just
that
admit
says
the
recording
names.
has
We'll just bleep
started.
them out.
Actually, speaking of just like random fun stuff, I mean, I know there's a bunch of us here that were like in a social where we just played Gartic Phone, and that was actually really funny. I don't know. I found that really fun, at least.
Also, another part of the social, like just family atmosphere of the team as well, is that eventually when you go on race, I know this, I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't end up being a question, but anyone is allowed to attend race. We don't pick members. We don't have like competitions or whatever to select members like some of the other teams have done, like other Soricar teams, I mean, not UW teams. But basically, if you want to go to race, you can go. You basically go on a giant road trip with a bunch of your friends and panic fix the car for several days a week. And then you get to race it. And it's probably one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do in your life. And it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, some of the people here have been to the race. They can attest to it. It is very stressful. You don't really sleep. But it is incredible. We need sleep anyway.
I have yet to attend a race.
Yes, I know, because you didn't go the last one.
Ouch.
Gone.
Gotta rub it in. I
You
see.
could have gone. I'm telling you.
You know I couldn't have gone.
Yeah. Say it anyway.
We are hitting 15 minutes over. Sorry, I got distracted by Nita's call.
Nita.
Oh, jeez. We are 15 minutes over time, so we'll keep it open if there's any other questions. Going once,
Twice.
going 3
Type
times.
faster, people. If you're typing, type faster.
What do
Wasn't
the
the
business
business-
people do at the race?
Keep us alive.
Quite literally,
There
actually.
is more than
Control
that.
my
It's more
debt.
than that.
Operations is a big thing. I can't speak to all of it because I haven't been to one, but from the previous business members, a big part is operations, whether that be cooking, making sure that people are able to get to and from lodging and like the track/race area if we are at FSGP. I can say a big role that the business team will play is actually before the race, planning out all of the logistics, whether that be like the actual lodging, figuring out the budgeting for the food, making sure that we have all the appropriate documents we need to make sure that we cross the border without any issues. That would be kind of important as well. So
Yes,
a lot of
don't
those
screw that
details.
up.
Oh, and trailer too. We don't have like our own trailer. Well, we used to, but not anymore. So we have to make sure that we can get our car from Waterloo down to wherever we need to be for the race. Yes, Ryan, you're right. We become chefs at the race.
Yep, you become chefs. You obtain additional materials that the team forgot at home. I did operations for a race. I should know this. What else do we do? I mean, mainly just keeping the team alive. Like basically, you're doing all the things that the rest of the team can't do, so that they can focus on the car. Is essentially, so a lot of it is like media as well, interacting with the some of the race organizers and stuff like that. You're basically just responsible for all the organization of the team while we're at the race. Oh yeah, chefs too.
Any other questions? We could probably cap it off there. If anyone else has any other questions, you can feel free to like email solar@UW-Midsun or honestly just drop them in Slack in the general channel or DM a lead. Those are also highly recommended and encouraged.
And yeah, let's cap it off there then. Thank you all for coming, and especially those who stayed behind. You guys didn't have to, but thank you very much for your interest. If you, we'll keep